Dennis, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Brad. Yeah, nice little Sunday evening chat. I do enjoy it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, let's get into it. First question: how has martial arts changed your perspective on the world around you?
Right, straight into the deep shit. Change my perspective on the world around me. I suppose from my own sort of first person perspective on the world, I definitely walk around. I think every bloke walks around. I always have done. And walking around town, you're looking around, you look at other blokes, and you do kind of size them up, and you kind of go, reckon I could take him. Reckon I could take that cunt. Do you know what I mean? And you're sort of sizing everyone up as you walk past, kind of thing. Or like you walk into a room and you're kind of sizing everyone up, like, right, who's the biggest threat here? You know what I mean? And then walking into a room and 99% of the time, like being the biggest threat in the room, whether everyone knows it or not, is definitely, it gives you some sense of comfortability in how you interact with other people because you know that like if anything goes sideways, like obviously most of the time shit isn't just going to go sideways off the bat, but like you're sat in a room and like you're right, if that guy, if it's just one random guy loses his shit and has a fucking schizophrenic breakdown and starts trying to kill everyone, I'll be okay. I'll probably be able to take him down, knock him out or subdue him in some way and deal with it. So it gives you a lot of confidence in how you deal with other people, I think.
Okay, there's a couple of ways I want to take that, but how do you feel like that mentality has impacted your relationships with other people, whether that be like male friends or maybe romantic connections? Do you feel like that's had any impact in your relationships in day-to-day life?
Um, yeah, I'd say like there's certain friends I've had to maybe stop hanging around with as much, or at least going drinking with as much,
Mm,
because suddenly when I'm out with them like that, they know that I can fight,
mm.
um, and maybe no one else in the room knows that I can fight, or in the pub or wherever we happen to be, and maybe they might get a bit more mouthy to someone else and be more willing to engage or start a fight with another group of lads because they're like, oh, it's cool. Like Dennis is with us, he'll just chin like five of these guys, we'll be okay. Um, so yeah, I've had to like sort of either tell people to fucking stop doing that or just stop hanging out with them altogether. Um, Other than that, like I'm still just me. Do you know what I mean? Like anyone that's known me since before I've done martial arts, and been made to me since before I've done martial arts, like will know that I haven't changed that much in terms of obviously like I've been doing martial arts that long now. I don't know whether it's the martial arts that have changed me or whether it's just age. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mm.
whether I would have done martial arts or not, like from the age of 22 till 31, would I have matured as a person? Yeah, sure, probably, like most people do, regardless of whether they do martial arts or not. But it definitely helped me kickstart my step into maturity, I suppose you could say.
So you started martial arts at 22.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's like a so I'm 20. I was about to say I'm 24. I'm not. I'm 23. I should know my own age. But I started when I was just at the end of being 16, almost 17. So that's like 6 years or so. But obviously, you starting at 22, do you feel that you had any kind of like catching up to do at that age? And how do you feel getting to the point where you are at now at that age has sort of, do you feel like it's benefited your career or had any negative impacts on your career?
What, starting at that age?
Yeah.
I think obviously you could always say, "Oh, I wish I'd have been younger," but sure, if I just started when I was 16, I'd probably be wishing that I started when I was 10. Do you know what I mean? If I'd have started when I was 10, I'd be like, oh, sure, there's guys that are doing it since they're four, you know? And it's like, you can always say that. And martial arts is one of those things, fighting is one of those things where you've either got it or you don't. And I don't think you can teach certain people some things. Like you can teach people skills. There's a lot of guys who are skillful martial artists, but they're not fighters. And I believe I've always been a fighter. I used to get into a lot of fights anyway before I ever started martial arts, and I could handle myself against non-trained individuals, I suppose. Um, yeah, I did still think I had a bit of catching up to do, you know. At the time, I started with like, a bit of Muay Thai and some mainly Jiu-Jitsu is what I did.
Okay.
I definitely felt like I had some catching up to do. It definitely drove me to train a lot harder than some of these kids. Like, again, a lot of the kids I see that are 16, 17 and doing it, they might show up 2 days and then they're gone for 3 days and then they show up again and they might train in the evening one time and they're here for 3 weeks, gone for 4 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Like, and maybe if I'd have started at that age, I'd be the same because when I was 16, I didn't have the level of maturity and the level of, I think I found martial arts at the right time, is what I mean, to fully immerse myself into it, not be lazy about it, and know that I have catching up to do, and know that I have to work 2, 3 times as hard. So if everyone else is doing a session a day, I've got to do 2 sessions. If everyone's doing 2 sessions a day, I've got to do 3 sessions every day. Obviously, me rest day, Sunday usually. Um, but yeah, like I felt like I was catching up, catching up, catching up, and then I hit a point where I felt like I wasn't catching up anymore. I felt like I caught up. I felt like I was overtaken, and now I feel like there's loads of guys. Like over the course of the last 2 years, I fought so many guys who, maybe just say Bo Gavin as an example. Bo Gavin, one of my opponents on the Octagon Challenge show, like big respect to Bo Gavin. He was a really tough opponent. His dad was a kickboxer. He'd been doing kickboxing since he was a kid. He'd been fighting MMA since he was 14, 15. You know, uh, I think he had fucking MMA fights going back to like 2012, 2011. And I was like, shit, like 2011, like I was doing track and field and keep in mind, I was still a sports person. I was still doing sports. I wasn't like sat in my arse doing nothing, but I wasn't fighting.
Hmm.
Um, so he had that much ahead of me. And then when we met, I think I'd been doing MMA maybe 3 years,
Wow.
and he'd been doing it for most of his life. And we had a good fight, and I won the fight, decisively. And that's when I realized, I think that was probably the fight that made me realize, like, yeah, I've caught up to all these guys. Do you know what I mean? Like, it don't matter how long you've been doing it, it matters how much you've been doing it. So if you've been doing a session a day, 3 days a week for 10 years, I don't know what the maths is on that. So 3 sessions a week times 52 weeks times 10. Yeah, so what?
Like
What's that?
150 sessions a year.
150 sessions. Oh, just over 1,000 sessions you've done. 1,500 sessions you've done in your life. I was doing 3 sessions a day, 6 days a week. Within 3 years, 4 years, I've caught up to you. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like I've probably done more sessions than you have. So it's hours on the mat rather than years having been doing the sport, I think.
Yeah, it's one of them things which so I train at a few different places, and over the course of the years, like I'm very open about the fact I don't want to be a fighter. When I first started, I saw two people who got me into it, Adesanya, Conor McGregor, and I was like, I want to do that. Then I started training, and I had a couple of low-level kickboxing matches, and I was like, I don't want to do that. Because it's just for me, it was not worth the payoff wasn't worth how much it was going to take away from me. And I figured that out very early on. I love
Yeah.
training. I absolutely love all of that side of it. I love coaching, like helping out beginners, but I don't want to fight. And I'm very accepting of that. But what I see a lot of is people who want to fight, but then they're doing the things that you're talking about, which is
Yeah.
coming in once, maybe once a day
Yeah.
or once a day
Yeah.
for like 3 or 4 days a week, and then they're off doing a shitload of
Yeah.
things that is not going to
Yeah.
aid their
Yeah.
fighting career.
Yeah. And you know what, Brad? I say something, yeah, that you obviously have a level of maturity that a lot of people don't have because for you to have done 2 kickboxing fights and said, yeah, this ain't for me. A lot of people wouldn't have done that.
Mm,
And you know what? If the thought creeps in your head, this ain't for me at that point, then it's not for you.
mm,
And like you say, the payoff, mate, like fucking hell, man. Like the I've been doing martial arts, like I said, probably 9 years now. Yeah. And I would say 7 of those years, I was actually losing money. Like I was not making any money. I was losing money
mm,
doing martial arts, fighting martial arts, you know, whether it be doing my jiu-jitsu tournaments all the way through for 3, 4 years, and then amateur level MMA, where you're not getting paid. You might get a few bob from tickets, and but you're paying for S&C, you're paying for a nutritionist, you're paying for this, holding down a full-time job. I had a good full-time job. Um, and there was probably a point where, I think it was after the Solomon Simon fight. I fought Solomon Simon. He's current Cage Warriors featherweight champion now. I fought him at amateur. I think I was 3-2 at the time, or 4-2, and he was like 8-6, and he was like a big deal. He had a lot of kickboxing fights. He'd had like that. He'd been training for years. He had 14, 15 MMA fights. A lot of experience, a lot more experience than I had anyway. And I beat him. And it was at that point I said, right, this is where I need to make the decision. I need to go either fully into this and leave this office job where I'm making good money. I'm going to be broke for a bit, and I aim to make it at some point. Or I need to just stop fighting and focus on the office job because it was taken away. Like the MMA was taken away from my productivity in the office. I was coming in shattered, you know what I mean, most days, just doing enough to hit my KPIs and all that kind of stuff, but probably not doing enough to get a promotion and rise through the ranks of that corporate side of things. But that wasn't what I wanted to do. That wouldn't have made me happy. Um, and I knew that if I looked back at the age of 45, 50, even if I'd made it to, I don't know, fucking team leader or whatever the fuck else, like, head of sales in my job, or in that office world, I would have looked back and looked at all the other people that I had been doing it with me, or I had fought, and looked at what they did and become world champions and all that. And I've been like, oh, like, could have been me that, if I hadn't fucked it off. So yeah, I took the plunge, and I definitely sacrificed a lot in my life. I sacrificed a lot of my lifestyle in terms of like being able to go out and have fun and buy myself nice things for a few years. And I've only probably now hit a point where I'm making a bit more than I was when I was working in an office, from fighting, which is, yeah, it's satisfying. And I've got another 10 years, maybe, 8, 9 years left of MMA. So I've just got to get the bag while I can and fuck it and bounce when I'm 40.
It sounds like you were, as you were talking there, it sounds like you were sort of had a point where you was battling between choosing a sort of safer route and a more comfortable route and a route that's more like well trodden on, and
Yeah,
then
I mean,
taking the scary route. Can you talk a little bit about
yeah,
that?
yeah, I mean, yeah, and uh, like you say, the safe option isn't always the best option. Um, this the safety and comfortability. But is it safety and comfortability? Is it safety and comfortability where, if, fucking hell, like if I come in late for training 3 days in a week, yeah, my coach will give out to me. It's a bit like it's on me though. Do you know what I mean? I'm self-employed. I am my own boss, basically. Um, I can not show up to fucking training for a week if I want. Take the week off.
Hmm.
No one's gonna fire me. No one's gonna say, "Oh, you're not allowed to fight now." But yeah, it's not freedom really. It might be safe and you might think it's safe, but at any point they can lay you off. Like
Mm.
the job I was in just before I left that and went full time in MMA towards the end of my amateur career. From what I heard, I kept in touch with some of the guys that worked in that office. Loads of people got laid off
Mm.
a few months after I left. So it's like, is it safe? Do you know what I mean? Like, and when you're living that lifestyle and then you've got your car loan and you've got this and you've got that and you've got this loan, you've got your credit card bill, you got this, and you're living that lifestyle, you think, oh, I can pay it back because I have steady income coming in. You lose that, boom, now you're in debt. Now you've got to try and find another job. You just take any job you can get just because you've got bills, you've got overheads. But yeah, it seems like the safe option, but really, yeah, I think what I do is maybe not safe, but definitely more fun, definitely more enjoyable. I wouldn't have met my wife if not for the sport that I do. I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have had my son if not for the sport that I do. So yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm happy with the choices that I made. It could have gone fucking sideways. I could have like quit my job. Next fight, I could have got fucking smoked, got fucking knocked out, got a concussion, and not been able to fight again for
But then you
fucking
could have
four
gone back
years.
to that job if it didn't work out, right?
Maybe, maybe, but like if you've got a fucking concussion and you're unable to speak properly and
Mm.
your cognitive functions lost, and you're not able to do the job properly, then I could have fucked it all up. But it
Mm.
is what it is. Like that, God's got a better plan than we have. Whatever my plan was, maybe didn't go exactly to plan. I had a plan in my head of what I thought was going to happen. Shit, I thought I'd be in the UFC by now. You know what I mean? Like, but fucking hell, I'm now fighting for Octagon. Octagon, a promotion that at that time I didn't even fucking know existed. And here I am fighting on the biggest promotion in Europe, in fucking arenas with like 15, 20, 25,000 people, one of the biggest stars in the promotion, one of the best paid stars in the promotion. Yeah, like it's mad. It's just mad how life works out. But that would never have happened if I hadn't had taken that plunge and just made that decision. So.
You mentioned a word when you was talking, which is freedom. And I had a funny experience today actually where, so for a bit of context, I think I might have mentioned to you beforehand, I just got back from Australia.
Mhm.
I think I might have mentioned it over messages, but I've just had like a month trip in Australia. But prior to that, I was working in a Weatherspoons. And I can talk a bit more freely about this now because I'm not under a contract, which is great. So, but yeah, I was working in a Weatherspoons and it was just getting me down quite a lot, basically, long and short of it. And I was like, I don't need to be here. Like, so I was meant to give a week's notice, gave 5 days notice. I was like, see you later, guys. I'm off to Australia. Went and spent Christmas with and New Year's with my girlfriend over in Australia.
Yeah.
And immediately, just from removing myself from a situation, I felt so much freer.
Yo, fuck Weatherspoons, fuck the corporate world, fuck the billionaire classes, fuck the government. Yeah, that's what I say about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, if you work for Weatherspoons, Amazon, Google, any of these, you might think you're fucking free. You're not. You're a
Mm,
slave. You're just a fucking paid slave.
mm,
Because at the end of the day, even if you're working for Google and you think you've got a good job, oh, I make 80K a year. I'm good. I've got
mm,
my computer science degree and I work for Google and I have a fucking pool table at work and we have a canteen. It's like, yeah, okay, cool, mate. But all it takes is Google to fire your ass.
mhm,
And I know because if you've got 80K a year coming in, you're gonna live a certain lifestyle. You're gonna max it. Maybe not max it your credit card, but you're gonna have a bigger credit card. You're gonna have a big car that you're paying for. You're gonna live in a nice gaff. You're not gonna be fucking living scraping, are you? So all it takes is you to lose that job. Or like, look, if you're free, yeah, if you're free, don't go to work on Monday.
mm.
See
Yeah.
what happens. You're not free. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, I'm free. I can just not show. Like I've got to go to training tomorrow. Yeah, I'm in camp, all of that.
Hmm.
But if I don't go, fucking, it's like I'm not gonna get fired. I'm like, Octagon aren't gonna call me up and go, you're not fighting anymore because you didn't show up to training. It's on me. Like, and don't get me wrong, it's a different kind of pressure because it's like, fucking hell, I have to go to training because I want to be the best version of myself. I want to perform. But I don't have to go. Like, I haven't like got someone over me saying, lauding me that I have to go. So
Well, we're never free of responsibilities, right? But we can make our life a bit more. We can give ourselves a little bit more freedom than having to
we
be
can take
like,
ownership of it. We can take ownership of our own life rather than someone else having ownership of it.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And yeah, sort of I guess taking it back to what I was talking about and then moving it into a question from there was so today the experience I had, I went into that Weatherspoons very briefly and I saw all of my mates in there and they were all fucking miserable. And I walked in and I was like, holy shit. And immediately I felt more miserable. And I wasn't even on shift. I wasn't working. I just walked in, like I was with my mate and we popped in just to say hi. And as we walked out, I turned to my mate and I was like, how the fuck was I there for a year and a half? And no wonder why I was so miserable. And then sort of, I guess moving that into a question is I spoke to a guy called Amari Diedrich.
I know him very well. I know
Yeah.
him very well.
He was talking about, he had a quote about like chasing dreams. And I just wondered what your relationship with, he kept referring to dream chasing. And I wondered what your relationship with dream chasing is because I see so many people like my friends, and I'd say this to their face, like in there, who must have dreams. And I'm looking at them stood behind the bar and they are looking so miserable. And I'm like, just
Yeah,
fucking go after something.
yeah. And listen, it's important to find the balance because, like I said, there was definitely a point in time in my life where I was working full time and I was training full time and fighting amateur MMA and even doing jiu-jitsu. And what that involved, a lot of people go to work, they do their 9 to 5, they do their little shift, and then they go home. Oh, I want to just chill out now, put my feet up, watch Netflix, get a takeaway, chill out, you know. Weekend comes, all right, yeah, we're out on the pints, get a bag and go mad. Sunday, die, do your shopping, go back into work on Monday again. It's that cycle. My life when I was working full time and training full time and fighting at amateur MMA was like I'm up at 5:30 in the morning. I'm in the gym for 7 a.m. Do an hour session, have a shower, get to work for 9. Work till 5:30, leave the gym, go to the gym. Sorry, go leave work, go to the gym. Do either an S&C session or a double martial arts session. Finish up about 9 o'clock. Get home for 10 o'clock. At this time, I was single, so cook dinner. If I had meal prep from the day before, do my washing, do my clothes, sit, get into bed, wind down. Maybe asleep by 11:30, midnight. Up at 5:30 again the next day. And that was every day. Come the weekend, I still train on a Saturday. So I go into training on Saturday morning. By the time I get home, I'm not arsed doing anything. I'm fucking shattered and bollocks. I had no social life. There was so many times I had Tinder dates where I'd be like, oh yeah, we'll meet up next Saturday. That's when I'm free. Come Saturday afternoon, I'm back home. I'm just like, I'm not arsed leaving my house again to go back. I'm not arsed. I just cancel it last minute or just ghost them. I just fucking, that was it. Like, do you know what I mean? I wasn't arsed. And for 2 years, 3 years, that was my life. I had no social life, but I knew in my head that I was chasing a dream. Like you said, chasing a dream, working a full-time job that I hated, but knowing that I'm doing this as an end, the means to an end where I need money in order to fund this dream. I need money in order to pay for my nutritionist, pay for this, pay for that, pay for my gym memberships, pay for fucking whatever. Um, so I knew that I would get to a point where I would need to make the plunge, but yeah, I was chasing dreams. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not in the business of chasing dreams anymore. I'm in the business of killing other people's dreams. I'm a dream killer. I'm not a dream chaser. I'm in the business of me and you are going to meet in the cage. You have a dream, yeah? You can have a dream like Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King fucking died, mate. Yeah, if you're Martin Luther King, I'm the CIA. I'm fucking the FBI. I'm gonna snipe your shit. I'm gonna steal your dream, and now you've no dream. And my from killing your dream, I take a piece of your dream. Does that make sense? And I use people's dreams to build my dream. Um, I don't really have like a set goal. My goal is to be the best version of myself. My goal is to go as far as I can go until the wheels fall off, until I get a career-ending injury, or until I fucking start getting chinny and start getting knocked out when people jab me in the face. You know what I mean? Like I'm not really arsed about all that other shit. I'm just here to entertain people, make some money, and do what I love doing. I fucking do it. If I won 100 million in the lotto tomorrow, yeah, and I never had to fight again for money, I'd still fight because it's something that money can't buy you. You know what I mean? I'd still fight. I'd just be rich and fight. You know what I mean? I'd be like Armin Saryukian. So,
When it comes down to fighting, there's a real different, and this is again one of the reasons why I knew that I wasn't made to be a fighter was like the mentality side of it. It's just a different kind of thing to like you can spar and you can hold yourself to a certain level when you're sparring, but when it comes down to actually competing, it just feels so different physically, but also mentally.
hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about what you believe mentally a fighter needs to have compared to just someone who trains and maybe isn't going to make it as a fighter?
um, I just think you need to have some level of self-loathing, or some level of apathy for the world around you. I would say I have definitely a bit of both. I enjoy hurting other people. Like I'm just gonna come clean and say it, you know what I mean? I definitely, if I drop someone in the gym to the body, I generally don't drop people to the head, but if I drop someone to the body in the gym, a little part of me inside's like, fucking yeah, you little bitch. Do you know what I mean? Like, and yeah, like I enjoy it. I enjoy the feeling. I enjoy the crowd as well. I do
Mm.
enjoy the crowd watching, being the center of attention. Yeah, there's definitely something like I think in the back reptile brain of a fighter's psyche that has to be a bit warped for you to put your jocks on, get your hands wrapped and get out in front of a few thousand people and have a fucking fight with someone for money.
Mm.
To pick that as your career path. And I liken it, like I know people liken MMA to like modern day gladiators or whatever, but it really is like going back to what I said earlier about people that are in a 9 to 5 or in a job are slaves. Gladiators were slaves that could fight to earn their freedom, right? You look at the likes of a McGregor, a Leon Edwards, a Paddy Pimblett, any of these guys that have got to a point where they've made so much money from fighting, where they're good, like they're good. They don't ever have to work a job again. They don't ever have to have a boss again. You've fought to earn your freedom
Mm.
from the Matrix or whatever the fuck these red pill guys are calling it these days. But like for you to be able to go right, like I've not got out of that yet. I'm not at that level yet, but I plan to be.
Mm.
If you can get to a stage where you've been able to like buy yourself a couple of houses and you never have to work a job again. You can never have to go into clock in for a shift again.
Mm.
You've fought to earn your freedom. You're like a gladiator essentially. You know, um, that's all it is. So yeah, I think like that's the sort of mentality you need to have. I think you need to enjoy hurting people on some level. B, you have to love pain in some capacity, and C, you have to be willing to. I mean, to be successful, you have to be willing to die.
Mm.
Like people say, like I'm willing to die in there. Like it's not a joke. Like fucking hell. Like people shit could happen. You know what I mean? Like shit happens sometimes. It's not often, but fucking things go really sideways in there. I could throw a fucking kick. and snap me shin in half like Anderson Silva. Like I could get knocked out, and the referee could be a bad ref and fucking not jump in time, and I could get hammer fist until I've got brain damage. I could. I've seen people get caught in chokes where like the ref hasn't realized they're in a choke and they've been choked out and they're fucking choked out for way too long. You got to be willing to die in there. You got to be willing to die for your craft. Yeah.
Obviously, fighting is, as you were just talking about, a super risky thing to choose to be your career. And something that, as I've spoken to many people on the podcast that I've picked up, is that you have to be willing to take a big risk to be a great fighter. So, can you talk a little bit about your relationship with risk? And yeah.
Well, I worked in insurance when I was in the corporate world, so risk was a big thing. And then I went on to work in car finance, which again involves a lot of risk management.
Hmm.
Um, no, I've always been a bit I won't say yeah, self-loathing isn't the right word, I don't think. I think like self-destructive maybe.
In which ways?
Yeah, um spent just before I started martial arts would have spent a couple of years partying hard. And like people say they party hard, but like I was partying hard, mate. Like I was that guy that like was at the afters, the last person left us awake at the afters.
Hmm.
Um, everyone's finished up. I'm going to the next party. I'm trying to find the next afters where people are still going.
What
I'm
drove
like
you
a
to do
full
that?
just competitiveness, I suppose. Like, you know, before that, obviously I'd been involved in track and field, couldn't do it anymore.
Hmm.
Um, was still competitive. So when I started partying, I became a competitive partier. I started saying, "Oh, I can do the most of that. I can be up later than all of you. I can go for the most days without sleep." Um, yeah, like, fucking, I was destroying myself anyway doing that. So at least now I get to destroy someone back. And fucking hell, touch wood. Fucking hell. Uh,
That power,
but
man.
yeah, touch wood. I've not ever had to go to hospital after a fight. At least not straight to the hospital.
Hmm.
Um, but I've sent a lot of guys to the hospital. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like it's fucking. I don't really care. And I like. Not that I don't really care about myself. Obviously, now I've got a son, I've got a wife, I've got a family. So I care in that respect. I
Hmm.
want to come home safe to them, which is why I fucking train my ass off so that I give myself the best chance of doing that. But on some level, it's either me or it's the other guy. Like, I'll be honest, I'll make sure it's not me. Do you know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like, I'll make sure it's not me, whatever I have to do. Because sometimes, like the other guy's better. It is what it is. That's just fucking part of life anyway, isn't it? Like, so you could be the best at something and one day someone might be better than you. That's just the way it is.
Max Holloway sort of refers to what you was just talking about as like the passport to crazy land,
Yeah.
and having that is something that he believes to be the difference between a good fighter and a great fighter.
Yeah. Like, to be honest, mate, there's something in, well, I said, like, I enjoy hurting people. A very similar feeling that I get when I hurt someone else, I also get when I have a near miss. Like, someone throws an overhand and I just get out of the way and it just skin and I feel it, like I feel the wind off it.
Hmm.
I get the same feeling. I'm like, that was close shit. Gotta check my P's and Q's, you know what I mean? And yeah, like yeah, it's always just been like that. I've always enjoyed it. I've never sh shied away from that. Never been scared of it. Never been scared of getting knocked out. And then the first time in my last fight, I actually got knocked out, and it's not only is it not as bad as people make it out to be, it's way less. I was there thinking, oh fuck, like suppose it wasn't like completely not. I didn't see the black screen or anything, you know what I mean?
Mm,
But I was like, oh, it's fucking not that bad. Like, it hurts your ego. Fucking hell. Like, you're like, "Shit, I just lost a fight in front of a lot of people. Um, but you'll be all right. You're fucking not dead.
mm,
I'm still alive. I'm still walking about. I can still talk. I still have my capacities. So
mm.
yeah.
I think that right there, what you just said of like you had something that's perceived to be bad happen, and not yeah, I say perceived to be bad. Getting knocked out is a bad thing. Let's not pretend it's like not. Let's not pretend it's something that you
It's not
should.
fucking good. It's not fucking good.
Yeah, you shouldn't want it to happen.
Yeah.
But you're still sat here. You're still able to go. Oh, is what it is. Happens, but
Yeah.
you can still move on. And I think that right there is like why I was thinking to myself the other day about how like I just want to I want to start like maybe a series or something based around like getting people to do martial arts, whether it's I haven't thought of a specific niche yet, but I really want it to be like younger men in particular, where it's like literally what you said there is the exact reason why, because I think so many people have this thing where they something remotely challenging happens and they just crumble and
Mm.
that like they can't handle it in any way, and then they have to take a 6 week break or a period of time to get over it because something's gone wrong. Whereas,
Well, it's resilience, isn't it? And I think like human resilience is something that is I don't think it's necessarily innate. I think it's something that's taught. Um, they say, well, I said earlier, not everyone's meant to be a fighter, and I stick to that. Not everyone's meant to be a professional fighter.
mm,
Can everyone have a fight? Can you teach heart? Yes, I think you can teach a level of heart because, when I was a day one beginner, when I first started martial arts, did I have the level of heart that I have now? Definitely not. I've definitely like, you learn over time that actually, oh, I'm not made of fucking glass. Like
mm,
getting punched in the face isn't that fucking bad, really. Yeah, it sucks. It's not like I'm not saying, oh, getting punched in the face is fucking great. Like punch yourself in the face, but it's not the worst thing in the world that can happen. You know
mm,
what I mean? Like there's people in the world whose life is so much more tumultuous and dangerous than yours is. You're walking to school and there's bombs falling on the
mm,
streets. You're walking to school and snipers are taking out your mates. You're fucking even in like Western countries, you're walking to school and there's crackheads everywhere and there's fucking, drug dealers on the corner and yeah, life builds resilience, and like I think when you've been through certain experiences in life, having an MMA fight isn't that bad. Like I meet adult men that have never been punched in the face, and I'm like,
mm,
how the fuck have you never been punched in the face?
mm,
Because if you stand up for yourself, if you're not an absolute wet wipe, and you verbally will stand up for yourself if someone's taking the piss out of you, and you will stand up for your own morals and your own values and yourself, you would have been punched in the face. Because at some point in your life, through teen years or whatever it happens to be, young adulthood, you would have stood up for yourself and someone would have punched you in the face for it, no matter what. Like
mm.
that's just a course of life. So if you've never been punched in the face, it means that like you've let people verbally and socially trample on you. You know, so most of the times I got punched in the face is because I stood up for myself.
Mm. Yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about. I've never thought of that in that way, but yeah, I completely agree. It's definitely a sign that like you say, you just let people, you go, oh yeah, no, you're right about that. Sorry, I'll just back down, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's like I don't know, someone says something rude to your missus or to your mate or whatever, someone you care about, you'd fucking stand up for it, and then as a result, you might get punched in the face. You know what I mean? Like, but having never been in a fight, it's like as a bloke, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a bit mad. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's surprising to me. So, yeah, I think doing MMA and doing martial arts makes you realize actually, yeah, like getting punched in the face ain't that bad.
Mm.
It's not the end of the world. Getting knocked out ain't that bad. It's not the end of the world. You can try and avoid it, you know. Um, I mean, ideally, I would try and avoid getting the fucking flu if I could, or a
Mm.
cold. But unfortunately, it's unavoidable in life, these things. You will get a cold, you will get a flu. You will have to pay taxes, and you will die one day. You know what I mean? It's,
Yeah. Yeah. I just think that, I don't know, like, it almost seems a bit overdone now, the whole thing of men being a bit like soft in this more like modern era. I'm only 23 myself, right? So I don't want to sit here pretending that I'm some guru on life, but I definitely see it where guys are just a bit pathetic, you know, and
I
they
mean,
could.
I don't hang around with a whole lot of like, young 20, early 20s guys that aren't fighters. The
Mm,
only early 20s guys I'm around are fighters, and they're fucking built a bit different than other, but they tell me they're like, oh, other guys my age are fucking pussies.
mm,
And they say that there's things like the average PSI of a handshake of a male has gone down, whatever, like 70 PSI in the last 20 years.
mm,
I look at people like my dad. My dad's not a fucking MMA fighter, but he's definitely been punched in the face.
mm,
He's definitely had fights. Do you know what I mean? He's definitely stood up for, and he would stand up for what he cares about. And he's a bloke. Like he fucking works his ass off. Like he's not lazy. And I think a lot of the modern society, like a lot of young kids now, by the time they're in their 40s and their parents, I think family dynamics will change. And I don't want to get too deep into politics with you, but like I think family dynamics will change. I think like we're heading towards being a much more matriarchal society.
so forgive
Where
me,
like
what does matriarchal mean?
so the opposite of patriarchal, which
Okay,
is
okay.
the father, the man of the house. I
Mm,
think it's going to be like the woman is going to end up being like the leader of the house in a lot of instances. Um, yeah, I think it will. Women are becoming a lot more, sorry, men are becoming a lot more effeminate. Women are becoming a lot more masculine.
mm,
Not like to say that they're fucking growing beards and getting henna like, but I think they're gaining the traits that traditionally would be perceived as more masculine. They want to be the breadwinner.
mm.
You know what I mean? They want to like own their own shit, and yeah, I mean that's all good, power to the women, but I do think that over the course of, however many 100,000 years that humans have evolved over, we hit a point in the early 1900s, mid 1900s, where we've evolved for thousands of years to be like that. And there's
Mm.
probably a reason for that, like
Well,
that,
that's the
because
problem. I feel like you're then fighting against evolution if we do go down that route, and it's pretty hard to fight against evolution.
it's not only that, it's that there were matriarchal societies back in the day. There was tribes that were matriarchal. They all got fucking killed off
Mm,
by the patriarchal societies because the patriarchal societies were led by men who were willing to go, yeah, fuck you, we're gonna stamp you out. Do you know what I mean? We're gonna come in your village, we're gonna kill everyone, we're
mm,
gonna take your women, and they're gonna become slaves, and they're gonna become part of our village, and they're gonna become part of our tribe. And it was brutal. Do you know what I mean? Life is
mm,
brutal, and we can't have it where once a month, the fucking leader of your tribe is in the pool of tears.
mm.
Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like it's
I think people get way too offended the second you start talking about that. And I know that people will be listening to this, and the second that we start talking about this, they're going to go, "You can't say that," because it's just naturally like. it's like
Fucking
a
hell,
reflex
I
that
can,
people can't help.
yeah, but I can say whatever I want, and if anyone has a problem with it, come see me. Do you know what I mean? Like, fucking hell, like I can't get, like I said, I can't get fired from my job. I'm
Mm,
not gonna get pulled up in a HR meeting and being told, oh yeah, you can't say this on a public domain. We're gonna have to give you a fucking sanction. Fuck off. Do you know what I mean? Like, and yeah,
yeah. But I just think that it's one of those you're it's not saying that someone can't, it's not saying that one person or one gender can't do something. It's also saying that I couldn't do what the women do.
exactly,
It works
exactly,
both ways,
exactly.
but people don't get offended when it's that way around, where you're talking about the men not being able to do what the women can
Mm,
do. But
mm,
it's like as much as I can't do what they can't do, what they can, I they can't do what I can. And we
yeah,
have these roles and yeah, sure, like there's nothing wrong with a woman wanting to do something more with their life, and that's fucking great. But at
yeah.
the same time, why are we trying to actively, at least what it seems to be, actively make men less of what they are?
It's not to say that there's not outliers. And there historically there have always been outliers. There's been warrior queens and
Mm,
there's been like, outliers. The one in a million. But we can't base the general rule off outliers.
mm,
Because, otherwise we'd say, oh well, the only shoes we're gonna make are size 3 shoes because there's a person, the smallest foot is size 3.
mm.
Do you know what I mean? Or like, I don't know. Yeah, it's like we can't base things on outliers. We have to go by the general rule. The general rule is like, yeah, like you said, there's a lot of things that women do that men can't do. There's a whole lot of things. There's probably more things that women can do that men can't do than there is things that men can do that women can't do. Um, but yeah, like you said, I don't think we should tunnel or like funnel men into doing these other roles and women to doing these other roles because I mean, there's a reason that male suicide is going up that much because I think a lot of men are a bit lost in terms of where they stand or what they're supposed to be doing in life.
I think I wholeheartedly believe that the problem is they are being told that they can't be what they're meant to be,
mm
or them trying to be what they are meant to be, biologically meant to be,
mm.
literally irrefutably, biologically, how they are meant to be, they are being told that that is wrong.
Or
So,
toxic.
yeah. So then
Yeah.
what am I meant to be?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think that's what the big problem is.
100%. 100%. And listen, all I'm saying is, yeah, if you look at where my dad's from, Ghana, right? Very much a traditional, religious, patriarchal country. You would argue that I suppose it's a developing country, not like ultra third world, but like not mega developed either. Not a whole lot of suicide. Not a whole lot of blokes that are going, yeah, do you know what? This life shit, I've had enough. But you would argue that there's probably more reason to if you look at, you know what I mean? Like, but
Mm.
people are fucking happier. They're happier with less, like they're happier with less. They don't see other people in their community I suppose you do. You see people doing big things, but people uplift their own community. They want to see someone make it out of their community. They're not jealous or envious of, oh, well, I haven't done that. You know what I mean? There's not this sort of, yeah, I don't know, this like spitefulness that exists. And like as I say, like you look at Western countries and you look at supposedly third world countries, and you look at the suicide rates, like the rates of people that are willing to go, I've had enough of life. They're way higher in Western developed countries. Why is that? You know?
And it's starting to become more people that you would like typically not expect to feel that way.
Yeah.
So things like they've got families, they've got jobs, they've
Mhm.
they're comfortable financially.
Yeah.
But I think what that shows is that it isn't about that because I
Yeah.
could have someone could put £100,000 into my bank account tomorrow, and if anyone does want to do that, feel free. But I guarantee I still wouldn't feel the same sort of peacefulness and happiness that I feel after a really hard training session, for example.
Yeah, yeah. It's what you
Because
do with the money. Don't get me wrong. Like, if someone gave me 10 mil now, would I be more or less happy? I'd probably be more happy, to be honest with you. Well, I would be investing that money into something that makes me happy. It's not the money itself, it's what I'm doing with the money. So now I'm like, oh, okay. Everyone in my family can chill and I can just go and train and I can just go and fight and I don't have to worry about money. I'll fucking fight for free at that
Hmm,
point. Do you know what I mean? I'll fight for free. Because I'm just like, oh, got money. Don't worry about money, mate.
hmm.
But yeah.
Okay, we've gone off the deep end a little bit, so just slightly to bring it back a little bit more towards martial arts. What for you is a red flag in a martial arts gym?
Coach says like, or has issues with you training in other gyms.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's a major red flag for me.
Yeah.
If coach is like saying weird things about, um, yeah, like if they're being a bit weird about you going and training elsewhere, I'm like, why are you being so weird about it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that usually comes from just a little bit of insecurity about oh maybe this coach is that you're going to is better and then I'll end up losing you or whatever. But
Yeah, yeah,
have you ever
exactly.
have you ever ran across that? Like I don't know. You,
In jujitsu, I did. Yeah, in my jujitsu gyms, I did. Um, it wouldn't be like so openly said like, don't train at this place, don't train at that place, but it'd be if you went and trained at another place, there'd be like slight comments made about it when you come back and stuff like that. You know.
do you ever experience? It might be difficult for you to speak about it, and we can cut it if you want. But um, is there any of that sort of stuff? A low level gym, there's loads of bitchiness between gyms and that. Do you ever experience that at a higher level gym? Like, is that something that goes on, or is it kind of just it's just
And there's definitely like rivalry between gyms, you know, like even at the bigger level, like, you know, everyone wants to be the top dog. It's the kind of sport that attracts people that are ultra competitors. So everyone wants to be the top dog, right? Everyone wants to be like at the top of the food chain. And I don't know, me personally, I think there's space for a lot of people at the top. I don't think like there's only one seat at the table, but yeah, not everyone has that opinion. So sometimes you can get a little bit. Not maybe not bitchiness, but like definitely rivalry.
hmm, yeah, yeah. I guess like anytime that there's anytime that there's men and fighting involved, there's going to be a little bit of that bravado and or quite a lot of that. You know, it's kind of impossible to
100%.
avoid, right?
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Last question then. How do you want to be remembered through fighting?
And just want to be remembered as like that guy that was willing to fight everyone, that put on entertaining fights. Um, Not really too concerned about being unbeaten. I mean, I'm not unbeaten, so it's too late for that. But I just want to be like the guy that like even the guys that beat me are like, shit, that was a hard fight. I never want to fight him again. Do you know what I
Mm,
mean? Like, just you know, regardless of what the result is, you're gonna have a fight. Like
mm,
that's how I want to be remembered.
mm. Awesome. Okay. I guess before I end, like, have you got any of those sponsors that we you wanted to shout out or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. So shout out Shadin's Good Actor. They've jumped on board for my latest camp. Um, Shout out to them. Follow my Instagram. Shout out to Yuppie Podcast. Shout out REX Supplements. Shout out Raw Sports have just jumped on as well. Who else have we got? Shout out King Irish Sea Moss. Shout out New Natural for their Shilajit. I think I think that's it. Shout out Oosh giveaways. Sorry, how could I forget about that? Shout out Oosh giveaways. Yeah, that's the main thing. Everyone catch my next fight, March 7th, Hamburg. Haven't got an opponent yet, but hopefully this week we will hear something about an opponent.
Awesome. Well, great. Thank you for coming on the show, Dennis.
No, I appreciate it, Brad.